college basketball slate, and following a 3-0 day, I'm excited to get back to the sportsbooks tonight, run it back. Let's have another great day here. We've got loaded action, and I'm excited to break it down. I've got a few best bets on the way. This is the free three. What's up, guys? It's your boy Noble Living back with another DYF Bets video. I'm getting out my favorite picks and plays of the day as we're just trying to get to the bag together and make that money. Now, right now, that's right, I get to hit the horn because it's been a 3-0 day yesterday. We got a sweep. We love to see it. The Texans and the over that we took in a teaser, no sweat bet there. We got it done. Frogs Wagner, I told you my boy been hooping. Another 30-point performance from him. We easily cashed the over. And then Auburn and UNA, I said Auburn could score 100 points by themselves. We just need UNA to chip in, and they did. We easily got over the 150 number. So 3-0 on the day yesterday. That's the momentum that we needed. Hey, maybe I need a little bit more chirping inside of the comments because that's what got me fueled up when the guy deleted his comment about, I was losing, and he's like, I hate channels like this. So we've been hot over the last few days. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me and just also the extra motivation. My goal is to never lose you guys money, but just to make sure that you see what I'm seeing, maybe to give you guys a different angle or perspective that could lead to a different bet for you guys. And on today's show, I'm going to give you guys 4 best bets. 2 inside college basketball and 2 inside of the NBA Cup. And if you want that final pick, that 4th bonus best bet, make sure you stay to the very end because I'll go over it real quickly, all right? So let's get into these winners for today. Smash that subscribe button. Let's break down this Tuesday, November 19th card. All right, for my first best bet of the day, let's head to the college basketball slate real quickly. And we're going to break down the marquee matchup of the night. Everyone's going to be wanting to talk about it, and that is the Marquette Golden Eagles against the Purdue Boilermakers. We have 2 of the top teams in the entire country going at it here, and this is an excited early season matchup as we have a team like Purdue that has started off the regular season ranked number 6 in the country. Meanwhile, they have to go on the road to Marquette for their first true road game against the 15th top team in the country. A lot of people think this is a good spot for Purdue. Why? Because they just beat the number 2 team in the country, Alabama, 87-78. But this is the thing. Purdue was at home in that matchup. And now they have to travel on their road for their first true road game. Now, don't get me wrong. Purdue has played some teams like Alabama. They've played Yale. That was a pretty good game, 92-84. They beat Northern Kentucky. So they've kind of had a step up in class in each one of their games so far in the regular season. But again, not played on the road, and your first road game is against a Marquette team that's also 4-0, including stepping up in class themselves after defeating Maryland on the road 78-74 in their last matchup on Friday. I like the Golden Eagles here. I'm not going to lie. I'm not willing to lay the 4.5 points that the books are giving us for them as a favorite. I also don't want to take Purdue right now, considering that this is their first true road game. And I do think that we're going to get a lot of offense, which is why I do lean towards the over. I think right now it's about like 150 or so on the book. But what I want to do here is I just want to isolate this to Marquette's team total. And I'm going to go over 78.5 points. And you can get that at minus 120 odds. And the reason why I want to isolate this solely to Marquette is not only are they a team that's playing at home, they're averaging 83 points per game, which would put us over this total, but I think it's more concerning that Purdue's defense is kind of like flying underneath the radar, right? Like, we know what they can do offensively. Purdue can shoot a lot of threes. They can hit a lot of shots. Right now, to start off the regular season, they're number 3 in adjusted offensive efficiency, so they can shoot. Number 7 effective field goal percentage. Number 5 from the three-point line. So the numbers are there for Purdue offensively, which is why I also lean the over, and I expect them to hit shots on the road. But this is the thing. Defensively, I have question marks. Gave up 78 points to Alabama at home. Don't get me wrong, Alabama is a very high-scoring offense, a very potent offense, but that is a game where they're on their road for their first true road game, and now you're giving me the same exact number that you're giving Marquette at home? They give up 84 points to Yale at home. 84 points to Yale. Maybe they overlooked them. Maybe they thought, they were going to blow them by them pretty easily. They give up 50 points to Northern Kentucky, but Northern Kentucky doesn't really play that fast. They don't have that good of an offense. But 73 points in their home opener to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Now, I understand that was an NCAA tournament team last year, but this is Marquette. This is at home. This is a team that is coming over. That is like basically, Wisconsin, Indiana. There's a lot that's going to go behind this game, and it's going to be absolutely rocking there in Milwaukee. And coming off the fact that Marquette just scored 78 points on the road against a very strong Maryland team, they've scored 82 points against George Mason, 102 points against Stony Brook. I think they can score 79 points, but if you want to just take the overall over in this game, I'm not opposed to that, but I like Marquette. I'm isolating it. Team total over 78.5. This is a team right now that's 25th in offensive efficiency. They're 18th in turnover percentage, so they're not turning over the ball right now. They do hit a lot of two-pointers. They're not really good from three-point land, so you got to expect them to hit their two-point shots, which right now they're 31st in all of college basketball, and they're top 100 in free throw percentage as well, so they do need to get to the free throw line. So this number of them hitting this is contingent on the fact of them getting to the line, hitting shots. But don't get me wrong, Marquette is one of those offenses that if they're not hitting their shots, you can have problems. But Cam Jones, David Joplin, Stephen Mitchell, Ben Gold, these are all guys that can get it done for Marquette. I like them here. I'm taking them. I just don't want to touch the spread, but I like their team total as our first pick of the day. Now, for our second best bet, let's go to the other college basketball game that I like. And right now, like I've mentioned, this is the time of the year where we have to take large spreads. Sometimes I'm going to look for an over or a total or a side that we can play, but this is one of those games where I'm willing to lay the chalk. We're going to go to the Georgia and Alabama A&M game, and we're going to take Georgia minus 25.5, minus 110 odds. I know it is a very high number here, but I'm willing to take it because Georgia right now, to start off the regular season, they're flying underneath the radar. Mike White has built him a very, very solid team from the transfer portal that people are sleeping on. He has a freshman in Asawa Newell who's very, very good, and this team right now to start off the regular season is 4-0. Now, don't get me wrong, they haven't played any significant competition, but they have not played bad comp either. They played Tennessee Tech, where they beat pretty handily. They beat Texas Southern. Then they got North Florida, which is a team that's ranked 171 on KenPom, and then they went on the road to Georgia Tech, on the road, an hour and a half away, but they were able to beat Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech, which is a team that's ranked 105 on KenPom, 77-69. Now they take on an Alabama A&M team that's ranked 343 on KenPom. Keep in mind, guys, there's only like 360 teams in all of college basketball, and this is a team that's played absolutely nobody. They played Oakwood, they played Arkansas Baptist, they played Fisk University. All three of those teams, not even D1 teams. Arkansas Baptist, they are literally playing in the Pastoral League, okay? And then they played Tennessee State. They won their first three games. They lost to Tennessee State 81-71. So they lost their only D1 game by 10 points. But what's also concerning for me, if you guys want to take a look at the over in this game, okay, right, is that this Alabama A&M team scored 100 points or more in all three of their non-D1 games. And they dropped 71 against Tennessee State. But this is the thing, right? They give up 78 points to Oakwood University. I know Oakwood University personally because my sister went to school there. They are a religious Christian Seventh-day Adventist school that is not D1. They are not NCAA. They're like not even NIAA, okay, guys? They play in some other league, right? In some like church league, whatever. And no disrespect to Oakwood. Like, I like Oakwood, right? They win their conference. They're like the USCAA or something. I'm not trying to disrespect them. But it's just not on the same caliber. And you gave up 78 points to them. Granted, they scored 121. But they gave up 78 points to them. And now you have a Georgia team with Mike White that started off the regular season 58th in offensive efficiency, 7th in offensive rebounding. And that's really one of the biggest things between the Power 5 schools and these smaller HBCU SWAC schools and teams like Oakwood, right? Is that they don't have the size, the big men that, you know, Georgia would have. So they can kill them on the glass. They're 43rd right now in 2-point percentage. So they're hitting shots from the inside. They have 13th best shot blocking on the defensive side. This is just for me, just a lopsided matchup. KenPom has this as an 86-62 win, so we're right there on that number. That's 24 points. I think Georgia gets it done at home. They're beating Alabama A&M. It's a blowout. But if you want to take the over in this one, I'm not opposed to it because I see something very similar happen like we said yesterday with Auburn and UNA. I think Alabama A&M's offense may be good enough to chip in enough points to get you over like the 150 number that we're getting like we saw yesterday in Auburn. But Auburn still covered the spread. They still hit their team total. They still went over. I'm expecting something very similar in this game here. Now, for our third best bet of the day, let's go to our NBA, okay? And then we've got cut matches on today. So, obviously, in-season tournaments, up and running teams that play maybe one game, maybe two games at this point. And tonight, there's going to go an ugly game. And probably there are other games that you maybe want to bet on besides this one. But I do want to take a look at this Brooklyn Nets and Charlotte Hornets matchup. And I'm going to go over 220.5, and I'm taking that at minus 110 odds. Now, the reason reason why I'm taking the over here, okay, is one, it's a cut match. So we do know that the point differential matters, right? So if you are blowing out a team, there is the incentive to keep running up the score. And I believe that either of these teams are streaky enough to where if they just hit enough shots, they hit enough threes, they can get us over the number even in a blowout by themselves, right? But if you look at the numbers so far this year, for the Brooklyn Nets at home, they're 3-3 to the over and to the under, so 50%. But meanwhile, the Charlotte Hornets on the road, they're 2-4 to the under, so they're more of an under team. Now, overall this season, the Hornets are 4-9 to the under, so an under team. But the Nets are 7-7 to the over and under. So nothing really is like moving us there that's telling us anything any convincingly, right? A little bit more, and let's dive into it, right? So let's look at the Brooklyn Nets for an example. Their last game against the Knicks went under, but that was a total of 221.5. But that was the second game that they played the Knicks back-to-back. So they played the Knicks, they played the Knicks again. The first time they played the Knicks, we had a total of 214.5. They flew over the total. They scored 240 combined, right? So they went over. They played the Boston Celtics. They went over. They played the New Orleans Pelicans. They went over. So they've really gone over in 3 of the last 4 games, and the only time they didn't go over was the back-to-back against the same exact team. And then the other time where they went under in the last 5 games was against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They lost that game 105-100. And that's the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that's more known for playing defense than they are on the offense. Now let's look at the Charlotte Hornets over the last 5 games. They played Cleveland. That game went over 226.5. Their last game against the Bucks before that went over 220. Then they played the Orlando Magic. I mentioned on yesterday's video why I like the Magic defensively, because they're barely keep letting teams score 100 points. Orlando, 89 points the Hornets scored against them. Of course, that game is going to go under. And then the game before that against Philly, 105-107. That game went under the total, but Philly was banged up. They didn't have Embiid. They didn't have Paul George, so kind of makes sense. So when you're looking at some of these numbers and you're looking at some of these teams and you dive into it, even though the numbers may say right now it's been trending to the under, when you look at the game logs and you dive in a little bit more, it's actually telling us, hey, these teams recently have been going over unless it's for these kind of situational or matchup by matchup basis. When you look at the numbers defensively, neither of these teams are that great. Charlotte right now is 20th. They're giving up about 114 points per game. Meanwhile, Brooklyn is 22nd, giving up about 115 points per game. So when you pair that with the fact that both of these teams, if you look at the NBA Cup kind of standings, the Nets right now are 0-1. This is a chance for them to pick up a win. And their first win was a 2-point loss by point differential, so they're still in the hunt. The Hornets, they're down by 25 by point differential, but guess what? Because that was that blowout loss to the match. But guess what? If they win this game by 20 points, hey, they're right there, and we can also get over this number. So for me, the numbers have been leaning towards over more recently. Both of these teams are not the best defensively. They both have players that can, like Cam Thomas, LaMelo Ball, that can fill it up and can light it up. The incentive is also there to score there. So for me, I'm going over 220.5 in the Brooklyn Nets Charlotte Hornets as our third and final pick of the day. So that's what we've got so far, my friends. 3 best bets, 2 in college basketball, 1 in the NBA. We're taking Georgia on the spread, minus 25.5. Marquette team total over 78.5. And then the Nets and Hornets over 220.5. Now, our third and final best bet of the day, our bonus pick, is going to be Luka Doncic over 7.5 assists. It's a minus 130 literally across the board. Take it while it's at 7.5. That, my friends, is golden. Luka at 7.5 assists. When do you really get that in just general? And I get why we haven't been getting it, because he has kind of been flirting with this number. His last game against the San Antonio Spurs, he got 6 assists, but he played only 28 minutes in that matchup, right? His game before that against the Jazz, he had 9 assists. And then his start before that against the Warriors, he only had 6 assists. So he's been flirting and hovering around this number. But this is the thing. It's a cut match. And then the Mavericks, they're playing the New Orleans Pelicans today. We know how banged up the Pelicans have been. We know how bad the Pelicans are. And I'm sorry for Brandon Ingram. It's him and a whole bunch of just lower caliber players, G League players, right? And it's nothing, no offense to those players, but when you're you're playing against a team like the Mavericks, keep in mind that the Pelicans are giving up the 5th most assists per game to point guards. So that fits right into the hand of Luka. Luka missed the last game against the Denver Nuggets because of that knee bruise, and I think that's because they wanted him to play in this matchup, but that also means that maybe if he's hurting, he's not going to be looking to score as much and looking to facilitate more, which leans into the assist angle as well. And then also keep in mind that with it being a cut match, he needs to play, but he probably is going to want to do his work early and then maybe sit down. So these are all factors that give me, okay, Luka, I like him here to get the assist. And the Mavericks, this is a big game for them. They're 7-7 right now, and they've had some very, very, very tough losses. Yes, they've won their last 2 games against the Thunder and the Spurs, and the last game against the Thunder was on the road without Luka. Big win for them. But before that, on the road against the Jazz, they lost that game 115-113. On the road against the Warriors, 120-117. On the road against the Nuggets, 122-120. At home against the Suns, 114-113. They are literally one possession away in every game from being on a 6-game winning streak instead of a 2-game win streak. So this is the thing. The Warriors, the Mavs know they when games slip through their hands. They're not willing to let this one slip through their hands against a very banged-up Pelicans team. If you want to lay the 11.5 points on the spread, I'm not opposed to that. But I do think that Luka is going to be an integral point of this offense. They're going to make a point to get out to a quick lead very fast. And then we also know, again, that the point differential matters right now. The Mavericks are 0-1 in the Cup standings with a -3 point differential. So if they can blow out this Pelicans team by 20-25, there's no way Luka does not contribute unless he has a 50-point game with 8 assists. I'm taking that as our 4th and final best bet. Let's take it to the bank and let's cash it and let's have a day. All right, my friends, let me know what you think about the picks below. Let me know if you guys have any other winners, but that's what we're doing here on the channel on this Tuesday card. Let's have a day. Let's cash it now. I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Later, gang.